Hey guys, welcome back to Beat of the Soul. I hope you're all well. So on Tuesday, I went to see a show called The Canary and the Crow with some of my family and a family friend at the Arcola Theatre. So the show's about a working class black kid who is accepted to a prestigious grammar school. Written by Daniel Ward, this show can be described as a semi-autobiographical piece, and the show blends grime, hip-hop and classical music to tell the story of a young person's search for belonging in a divided society. The Canary and the Crow features live music by Prez 96 and James Furrer, and it won the Brighton Fringe Award for Excellence and the Writers Guild of Great Britain Award for Best Play for Young Audiences, and it was nominated for a Total Theatre Award at the 2019 Edinburgh Festival Fringe. I really recommend that you guys see this play. It was really good. It covers so many different things, from race to class to work, different fables. There's so many lessons to be learned in it, but I'm just going to talk about the musical element to the show. Prez 96's job was to bring a grime element to the classical element, and I think the fusion of the two genres worked really well. I mean, we've seen this kind of fusion before in things like Grime Proms.
If you don't know about me, then ask them quickly. Everybody pop, 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 pop.
And even though the genres are so different, I think when they're brought together, it just works and it just sounds really good. Every single lesson in the play had a musical track. So the music that they played for the computer science lesson was probably my favourite. I just loved the chords that they used, the sound, it was all gamified, the use of choric movement in that scene, the use of voice. It was just really effective and it sounded really good. So conceptually, music was key in this play as everything was written to a beat. And I think this just shows the power of music. Like in this case, it can be just as important as the acting, if not more important in some cases. So Daniel talks about grime being a barrier to getting the play out there because he wrote the play in 2014 and we're only seeing it now.
But conceptually, music was key. Everything was written to a beat, and also I would say that was one of the barriers, because I very much wanted to talk about grime. When I wrote it in 2014, I was a big fan of grime, but it wasn't commercial. Like, we're in 2020 and grime's huge now, and everyone knows what grime is, but when I wrote it, people were like, grime? I've got a reference in the text that we don't do in this play to Big Nasty. Like, you know who Big Nasty was? Now he's on Channel 4, you know what I mean? He's mainstream now, you know, people know that. So I think with the growth of maybe crime as a mainstream medium, I think that the people have been more willing to have that conversation.
Things like humour, breaking the fourth wall, and the use of music were specifically designed to diversify the audience.
Conceptually, how important was humour? Because it's a very funny show. How important was that throughout the process?
How important was humour?
The final product.
Massively. Because, part of the thing that we're trying to do here, is we're trying to invite new audiences and different audiences to the theatre. Yeah? So, part of the reason that it was funny, part of the reason that it broke the fourth wall, part of the reason that it does all these different things is because we want to diversify and invite a younger audience to theatre. So there are people who are young who will go to comedy gigs, there are people who are young who will go to music gigs, but they won't come to the theatre. Right? Why is that? Because, why is that? You know what I mean? But we want them to come here. So we wanted to make a space that's accessible.
And I like that they did that with that intention in mind, because there's this whole idea of young people going to things like comedy clubs and music shows, but they're not going to the theatre. And why is that? I think there's so many different elements to it. I would love to do like some in-depth research on this kind of topic because I find it quite interesting. When I think of it initially, there's the element of you can't record in theatre. So in our generation, there's this whole idea of we need to show people what we're doing. People need to see. We need to have a record of what we did. If we didn't record it, it didn't happen. And in the theatre, there's this whole culture of you don't film in the theatre. You're not supposed to film in the theatre. So I think that could be an element to it. So me being the music lover that I am, I just had to ask a music related question.
Yes.
What was the composition process like, and what role did you want the music to play throughout?
What was the composition process like?
Who wants that one? Here you go.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Hello. So the show was co-composed by Nige and a guy called James Frewer, who's not here tonight, obviously, 'cause he's not on the show. So as Nige said before, so as Dan said, Dan, when he wrote it, had sort of ascribed each scene with a beat and you've made a playlist, haven't you?
Yeah, like a musical feel. I had like...
Yeah, like a musical feel. Like each scene had like, maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 tracks that just had a feel. And it'd be like, oh, what does the park feel like today? And I played like the track.
Yeah. So then Nige took inspiration from that playlist and those feels. You made beats, didn't you?
Yeah, I think before I started, I made like 40 different sort of beats. I feel like the opening sequence pretty much was the same as I made it, but then obviously taking it from samples and MIDI drums when we put it in the space and had, you know, the cellos on it and singing it was truly amazing. I think we did that on like day 3. So, and I knew at that point that this was going to be something really special. I felt a bit tearful, to be fair, because the way she was singing and the cellos and everything, it was beautiful. So, and then some tunes that I made stayed the same, like First Day That Takes a Piss and all of that sort of garagey stuff. And some of the grime stuff pretty much stayed exactly the same. But yeah, in the room, like, I know it says co-composer on my title, but I feel like every single person, including the director, they all changed what we were doing, you know, like these guys stuff. I mean, it was an amazing process. Like, through the co-composer would be like, okay, yeah, let's just call out. And you start calling out like notes. I'm not a trained musician, man. I'm not a trained actor at all. It was a humbling experience. He was like, C, A sharp, blah, 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 blah. And these guys just pick up the cellos and start doing it. Laurie's walking around, she's playing on the keys and stuff. And a lot of it was just experimentation. And it was a really sort of organic process. And I genuinely feel like every single person contributed pretty much equally to it. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
I loved hearing about the composition process. I find stuff like that so fascinating. And I liked how he talked about how each scene had a musical feel. And I think that's so important because music and sound is so important when it comes to feeling, because certain sounds, certain chords, they can have a certain effect on you. They can make you feel certain things. So it just goes to show again the power of music is just so important for things like theatre. Shout out to the girl who raised the question about gig theatre, because I'd never heard of that term before I went to the show. And someone also talks about theatre being felt and not thought, and I thought that was so interesting. It's definitely a reason why people don't go to the theatre, because we're so consumed in our thoughts all the time. Maybe it's school, work, university, personal life, and sometimes you just don't want to think. You just don't want to use your energy to think. Sometimes you just want to feel something. And I like what gig theatre is able to bring. It's able to bring the feeling element and the thought element, and if you don't want to think, you are just able to feel. You have that freedom to just feel. And yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting discussion and I learned a lot. And Arcola Theatre, they also did a YouTube video on what is gig theatre, and I'll link it below so you guys can watch it.
I was going to ask about like gig theatre as like a medium. I really felt very excited by it. And do you think it's something that's on the rise massively? And is it something you want to create individually more of in London and the UK?
Gig theatre as a medium. I think it's a very exciting space to work in because it's still defining itself. This gig theatre isn't somebody else's gig theatre, which isn't somebody else's gig theatre. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different interpretations of gig theatre. And like I said to you earlier, our interpretation of gig theatre was a bit like, oh, somebody will go to a music gig, somebody will go to a comedy gig, but they won't go to a theatre. What are the elements of a comedy gig? What are the elements of a music gig that make it attractive to a different audience, but not theatre? That was how we started. But somebody else might have a completely different interpretation. I think it's a great space to work in, and I'd love to work in it more and do more stuff, but I don't play no instruments. I just have to write it.
So Same question.
Do you want to? I don't know.
One thing I will add is that Middle Child, so the company that produces production and do gig theatre,
Yeah, they do.
they were one of the first companies.
They were the first.
The first, yeah. I think
That's a controversial
coined
comment.
the term. Yeah. Anyway, it's out there. Okay. But a massive thing that they believe that gig theatre does, and why it's such an important medium, is that is there about theatre being felt, not thought. Which again engages potentially with that audience. So that's what I love about it. I would love to do more, but I think a lot more companies are experimenting with it. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, with Middle Child, I'm like co-composing another show. It's called There Will Be Unicorns. It's about hip hop and it's about sort of love in the community. So it's a shameless plug. It is what it is. It's going to be. We start writing it in March. We're really excited. It's written by Luke Barnes. It's going to be good vibes. Yeah. And yeah, so fingers crossed that should be touring. I'm expecting big things from it. Fingers crossed.
Thank you guys for watching and listening. If you like this video, please give it a like or a comment, and please subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any videos. I'll put a link below so you guys can purchase tickets for this show. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens to gig theatre in the next few years. It might even become mainstream.